think who set that server up. That's right. No mandatory refueling with a fixed time. So when you go into that area, what you'll see, you set the pit stop to 1. Automatically puts 120 Yes. Well, I hope so, because that's what it's set for tonight. So we'll soon find out. What's that for? Is that for GT4? Yeah, I must have set that up properly. I've not gone into get that. Thank you very much. I'll try and get you replays as soon as I can. Three or four. I'll tell you when the last one starts. Grid Finder, SGP, Simsport. I'll check down. You need to prompt me when you want the earth trailer coming up as well. And there's also a track guide available. Fine. You just let me know when you say something like track guide or earth trailer. I'll see where we've been. Final. One minute. Five, four, three, two, one. Live.
Good evening and welcome to the home of British motor racing, the historic Silverstone circuit located on the Northamptonshire-Buckinghamshire border of England. Owned by the British Racing Drivers Club, Silverstone was built on the site of a World War II RAF bomber station. First used as a racing circuit in 1947, the circuit underwent major redevelopment in the early 1990s, turning it from a then ultra-fast track into a more technical circuit that demands maximum concentration from drivers. The track underwent additional modification in 2010, where an additional section was added to the track between Abbey and Brooklands, bringing the now famous Wellington Straight into the Grand Prix circuit. The current GT3 lap record here is a 1:58.165 posted by Norbert Seidler in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo at the 2019 International GT Open. And we might very well see lap times of a similar pace here tonight, as current AM Championship leader Milan Duma posted a 1:58.8 in free practice just before we started qualifying. So this is round 6 of the SSRi GT3 Championship Tier 2. I'm your host for the evening, SSRi Ambassador Sam Pierce, and I'm joined in the commentary box this evening by Dimitri Schenk, as Chris Hill is manning the cameras while Tom is on holiday. Good evening, Dimitri. How are you doing?
Good evening, Sam. Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm looking forward to the race. It's gonna be a fun one. 75 minutes, so we're in for quite a treat, I guess.
And I definitely hope so. Silverstone is one of those just classic circuits that always throw up some interesting curveballs, some tight racing. So yeah, it should be really, really fascinating. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves with tonight's race, let's see where we have been so far this season. So we started off the season in round 1 at Imola for a 60-minute race. We then moved over to the UK to round 2 at Oulton Park, which was a double back-to-back 30-minute sprint. Then we traveled over to Suzuka for round 3 for another 75-minute race. Then over to round 4, Hungary, with a 60-minute sprint. Then round 5, which was our last outing at Misano for the 2 30-minute sprints. This evening, we're back for round 6 at Silverstone with a 75-minute race. And then we're going to conclude with round 7 in Kyalami with a 75-minute race. And that is the GT3 championship for this year.
Would you like to track
So, let's take a quick look at the track guide. As Silverstone is one of the more popular circuits on ACC, most of you will probably be well familiar with it, starting off at start-finish, heading around Copse, into that nice tight sweeping of Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, onto the Hanger Straight, coming down to Stowe and then to the Vale Chicane. Very tricky club corner, bringing you up into the Hamilton Straight onto Abbey, around the new section of Farm, Village, the Loop and Aintree, which will bring you on to the Wellington Straight, and then the famous Brooklands Lovefield complex onto Woodcote and then back up to the start-finish line. So Dimitri, what are your feelings about Silverstone? Do you like racing here?
Yeah, I absolutely love racing here, and I mean Beckett's Chapel. It's famous for a reason. It's quite a treat if you go through that combination, and but it has so many corners that are iconic, basically with Stowe and Club and Copse, and my personal nemesis is Lovefield. I really struggle with that corner, or actually Brooklands going into Lovefield. It's just a difficult corner, difficult track. And that's the thing about Silverstone. There are just so many corners that are famous. It's really nice.
Yeah, and it's a lovely track for that historic nostalgia. And it does seem that with being such a technical circuit, there are people that are going to be very strong in certain sections, yet weaker in other sections. So it's going to be interesting to see how that back and forth of skill develops throughout the lap. So let's head over to qualifying and see how the drivers are doing.
So currently we have Nelson Abrahosa on top, I see, with a 158.2. So Sam, you had our track record, the real life track record at hand. That's already at the track record, isn't it?
Pretty close, yeah. It was a 58.1. So very, very close to that real time limit. So yeah. Nelson obviously knows this track really well. And it's interesting that Milan Duma, who is our AM championship leader at the minute, tucked up really close behind him, only 2 100ths back, sitting currently in P2.
Yeah, Milan was also doing some really fast lap times in the practice as well. So he is definitely in sync with Silverstone.
Yeah, and it's interesting that at the minute we've got 2 AM drivers up in the top 3 with Milan Duma and Carl Van Horn, both AM drivers, both in the BMW. BMW does seem to be quite a strong car here, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that top 3 plays out through the rest of this 6 minutes of qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. And P2 in the AM class is Denise Pope, currently in 13th place. So she has some catching up to do to Milan Duma if she wants to challenge him for the lead in that class. Currently 1.6 seconds behind the fastest time, and Milan Dauma is less than a tenth behind. So basically, this is also 1.6 seconds behind Milan. So yeah, she has some work to do, and I'm hoping to catch a nice slipstream over here.
Yeah, and this is definitely going to be one that I think we should watch throughout the race. Is that, you know, we're starting to get down to the sharp end of this championship, and currently in silver, in the silver class, Mike Ambrinosa is got a good commanding lead. However, the AM class, there's currently only 5 points between Milan Duma and Denise Pope in P2 in that class. So definitely all to play for. So I know that Denise is a very clean driver. She does very, very well under race conditions. We're not necessarily always good on a single hot lap. But she is very good at wrestling that Honda around for a full race stint. So definitely one that we should keep an eye on throughout the race.
Yeah, it's consistency with her racing, and very little mistakes. And Milan Dama is really fast, well, he's looking to keep it clean as well, and maintaining his top position. I'm having a look in the silver class, and I see Tim Nauber on P7, who we are currently following. He's third in the silver class. And I'm quickly doing some maths over here, and that's 58 points behind Mike Ebernosa. And I'm searching for Danny van der Veen, who is second in the silver class, but unfortunately I can't see him, so he might be missing from this race.
I can't see him.
No, and I think he did. I think he is out of this race then this evening, and unable to make it for some reason then this evening. So, yeah, big opportunity for Tim Nybor with Danny van der Veen not being here tonight. I don't think he'll be able to catch Mike Ambrinosa, but he may very well be able to overtake Danny van der Veen for that second place. I think there's currently only 7 points been between them, and with Danny not here, that should be quite an easy place for Tim to take in the championship going into the final round.
Yeah, correct. It's 7 points. Yeah.
Glad I got that right. My off-the-cuff maths is not my strong suit, so.
Oh, it's the same for me. I was taking a couple of seconds to do the math between P3 and P1.
We got there in the end, and that's the main thing.
That's the main thing, exactly. Yeah.
I'd have been no good.
So we're on board with Parker in the top McLaren. McLaren's done not seem to be doing very well at Silverstone since the update. It used to be, quite an easy car to do well at Silverstone with, but since the update, it's definitely become a little bit more of a handful.
Tom Curtin point 8 up on his lap here.
Yeah, because I remember indeed what you're saying, Sam. I remember the McLaren being pretty nice on Silverstone once it got technical, and you didn't need too much power with elevation changes and stuff like that. The McLaren used to be very nice, but it looks like it did drop down a little bit on this track.
Yeah. We're currently riding on board with Tim Curtin, who's currently about 0.6 up on his current time, just coming on to the Wellington Straight now. So this, let's see, is currently 0.7 now. So that will put him up to probably P10 if he maintains this. Although he is gaining time throughout this final sector.
Yeah, it should be a top 10. Yeah.
Oh yeah, up to P8. So it's quite a good result for him.
Tom Dalhilson. 0.5 up.
Yeah, Tom Dalhuisen in the BMW is currently also improving on his best time, losing a little bit in the corner over there. But still about 0.3 up on his time.
Yeah, then that corner when he lost the time club coming onto the Hamilton straight, it's definitely one of the corners that I struggle with. The BMW tends to be, you've got to be very, very careful with the steering with the BMW coming out of club. It's very, very easy to either go wide and fall foul of track limits, or the back end suddenly goes super light, snaps around on you, and before you know it, you are head on into the Formula One pit wall. So, very difficult corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Second up.
As we jump on board with Patrick Prince in the Soul Lamborghini, currently 0.6 up on his time, just coming up to the final corner.
And if I'm not mistaken, Sam, Patrick had the fastest time in practice, right? So he should be up there.
Almost. He was pipped right at the very, very last second by Milan Duma, but it was very, very close between the two of them.
I must have missed that. I was probably setting up.
It was literally right at the very last second, just before when we swapped over. I almost missed it, but just happened to catch it out of the corner of my eye before we switched over. But Patrick was our race winner for round 1 at Misano last time out. So he's had some good results past couple of races.
Yeah, he was doing really well on Misano in both races, and got a bit unlucky over there together with Tim Nijboer, and I think it was Ebernhosa. They were battling with the three of them pretty much both races. This was really nice to see.
Yeah, it's a shame I missed it. It was quite gutted I wasn't able to see that.
So about the BMW,
next week in the GT4 competition.
Princey will be in the comms box with me next week, helping me commentate with GT4s, because Chris is going to be still on camera duty. So it'd be good fun to have a good chat with him. I used to race with Patrick over at OOR. So yeah, looking forward to that. Get a bit of different voices in the comms box for you guys.
And in the meantime, we do have checkered flag for qualifying, and there are still a couple of cars on the flying lap, and one of them is Mike Ebernhosa, who is 0.3 up on his time, so he still has some room to improve. But currently with 0.3, he will probably remain 4th. So it's going to be touch and go with Patrick Prince if he can sneak into the 3rd position.
It'll be tight, and if he doesn't get held up by this traffic, then yeah, he should be interesting to see how it is when it crosses the line.
It's going to be really close with Patrick.
I think he is. Oh no, I think he's just didn't quite get the traction coming out of left fields.
It's equal. It's equal with Patrick Prince.
Oh, down to the 1000th. Don't see that very often.
No, exactly. So we were saying, like, is he going to be faster? Is he going to be a bit slower? And then you get the thing in between, which you don't count on.
Yeah. So we've still got Milan Duma out and Westfield out, but neither of them are improving on their time. So that looks to be our qualifying completed. So we'll just wait for the cars to form up on the grid, and then we will go through your starting grid for the race.
4.5 minutes left before start of the session.
No, although we've got 4.5 minutes, so Dimitri, what are you looking forward to for this race? What should we be looking out for?
Well, I'm very interested in the battle for the overall standings. P1 AM between Milan Dalma and Denise Pope. Milan Dalma, he had a brilliant qualification. He's on the front row actually. So that's one of the battles I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna follow, and of course don't count out Carl van Hoorn. He's in third position in overall standings right now, and he also had a really nice qualification.
Currently in P5.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course we have once again we have the Ebrahimosas, Patrick Prince and Tim Nijboer for the silver class, really close together, and they had some really fun fights, fun, fair, hard, clean. It was really fun to watch on Misano, so I am expecting more of the same from them this race.
Yeah, Denise, unfortunately down in P12. Definitely going to have a lot of work cut out for her then this evening to try and catch Milan, see if she can eat into that lead. But definitely not beyond then the realms of possibility. Anything can happen around Silverstone. And as we know from past Formula One races, this can be a very, very dicey circuit if you don't give it the respect that it needs.
In about 20 seconds, I'm going to go down to the grid.
That's very true, Sam. And and of course we focus on the battles that are going on for the championship standings. But this is one of those tracks where we'll probably see battles all over the field. So also a bit further down, there are going to be intense fights and people, trying to go too wide into Beckett and Chapel, and then in last minute deciding that might not be a smart idea.
Yeah. So as we head on to then the grid, 2 minutes to go. We're just going to run down the starting order. So on row 1, we've got Nelson Ambrinosa in P1 with Milan Duma lining up next to him. We've got Patrick Prince in the Lamborghini in P3 with Mike Ambrinosa in the Porsche in position 4. On row 3, we've got Carl van Hoorn and Tim Nijboer in the Mercedes, followed by Frank Hopp and Tom Curtin. Next row back is Tom Dallinson and Suk Vervaat. Dennis Workman lines up alongside Denise Pope. Then we've got Ike Hughes and Steve Parker in the McLaren. Andreas Vestkamp and Wouter Bilsma in the, which I believe is the sole Ferrari in the race tonight. Evan Netfes in the Honda alongside Dirk Venema. Arjen van der Linden in the other Porsche and Mark van der Eyck. In the other Ferrari. So we do have a second Ferrari on the grid tonight. Daniel Benz lines up alongside John Haig, and bringing up the back row is Poiter Rogos, and Karen Benz. So, as we get to the 30-second countdown for the formation lap, just taking a look at the weather. Cloudy, but the track is optimum, but a little bit cool in the temperatures out there. Air temperature of 16, track temperature of 17, and just a little bit of a crosswind coming down that start-finish straight of 5 kilometers.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a full formation lap they will probably try to get some heat into the tires, heat into the brakes, so they're well prepared for the first lap. Looking at the BMW, Sam, with a pretty aggressive front grille that they have right now, are you a fan of that?
I am in the game, but weirdly enough, I'm not a fan of the new grills on the BMW in real life. So in the game, I'm loving it. It's my car of choice at the moment. I've been running it all season. I do really like it. I like the way it drives, but
Yeah.
still not 100% convinced by the new design style that BMW is taking in real life.
It seems to be a bit of a love it or hate it affair
It
with the
is.
new style.
It
Yeah.
is very much, yeah, and I think a lot of it depends on how the livery is done as well. There are some BM liveries that I've seen that just draw just a little bit too much attention to that
Yeah.
front grille.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed those as well, and I did see a tweet from Elon Musk who was joking that now that he has Twitter, he's gonna buy BMW so he can go back to the old grill again. So he's definitely not a fan of the new ones.
I would be well up for that. Elon Musk buying BMW, that'd be hilarious.
Just to revert the grill. That's the only reason.
Yeah, well, he can afford to do it, so yeah.
And of course, I have to mention that we have another great event on tonight, which I mentioned just before the broadcast. I have the Eurovision Song Festival on a third screen over here. So if I accidentally, give douze point to Mike Abrinhosa, that's probably because of Eurovision.
You
Well,
get nil
it's-
foire anyway.
Yeah, well, just as long as you don't give anyone nil point, then that'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. I'll try to give them all the maximum then.
Right. So we're about halfway through then the formation lap. Then this is quite a long lap, and it's difficult to get temperature into the tires and then to try and keep it there more importantly, and not overheating brakes and everything like that. So, and Dimitri, how do you go about your tire warming? Are you a weaver or are you braker?
I'm a braker. I always keep the brakes on a little bit, and I'm not a huge fan of weaving because I don't do it correctly, but I don't see the results of it. And fortunately, it hasn't happened to me yet. But I've seen some people just spinning while
Done
trying
that.
to weave.
Yep. Been there, done that. It is the most embarrassing thing in the world. Hence why I don't do it anymore.
No, exactly.
I am now a braker as well. I would rather overheat my brakes and have warm tires than spin on a formation lap and be that one donkey at the back.
Exactly. But I do keep a steady pace with the brakes on. You see some other people, creating a gap and then accelerating and braking hard. I don't do that. I just keep a steady pace with some light brakes on.
Yeah, it is a little bit difficult to do that in the BMW because simply because ideally the BMW needs such a front forward bias on the brakes. It's a little bit difficult to get the brakes on the rear, but yeah.
So getting ready for the green light.
So we're picture in picture looking at the front and at the back. So Dimitri, do you want to take the green flag?
Yes, that's an honor. So of course, nice picture in picture. Front runners are crossing the starting line right about now, which is a great song, by the way.
Green light, go, go.
And we're going green, and it looks like a real nice getaway from Nelson Amorosa, who has a little bit of a gap. Keeping an eye on the bottom right to see how it all goes in the back, and it seems to be very clean at the moment. Yeah, really nice getaway by Abrinhosa. Immediately has a car's length gap back to Milan Dauma, so he must be happy with that.
Yeah, and everything looks super clean all the way back through the pack. I'm not seeing any yellow spots anywhere. Nobody's falling back on their gaps, so it looks like everyone has gotten away cleanly.
Yeah, really clean start. And we see Milan coming back at Nelson immediately already. So there was a really nice start from Nelson, but he still should be aware of the cars behind him.
Yeah.
It's always difficult in the first lap to go through the standings table and see if there are any cars that have swap position.
So
But
it looks like we have a little bit of an incident towards the back. It doesn't look too severe, but I think that is car 63.
That's John Hagen. Well, unfortunately, had a little incident, and I now see car 578, I think. No, that's 570.
Which is Frank Hopp. Dropping down then the order.
Which is unfortunate because Frank is quite a fast driver as well, but he is a bit unlucky every now and then.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, if you're a fast driver, it can be frustrating being, especially if you haven't qualified very well and you're quicker than the cars ahead of you. Then first couple of laps can be very, very frustrating of trying to find a place by to be able to do the pace that you know that you can do. So it just, you know, really, really takes some patience to be able to just, you know, sit back, wait for the spaces to come to you.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, sometimes things happen right in front of you and you can't react anymore. But usually, you know, a bit of patience is the right thing to do in the first lap. But not saying that was not the case over here. We did see a nice slide by Nelson going through Beckett's, I believe it was. So tires might not be up to the optimal temperature just yet.
Yep. I'm just looking that Mike Ambrinosa is quite close on the back of Patrick Prince, so Princey's got a little bit of defending to do to keep the Porsche at bay. The Lamborghini should have the legs on the Porsche, but the Porsche is obviously a lot better on the brakes, so that could be a battle that just continues on for quite a number of laps while they get that sorted out.
Yeah, how is the Lamborghini? Do you know that, Sam? Because that's a car I have hardly driven at all in ACC, so I have no idea how it is on the tires.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The only Lamborghini that I've driven is the ST version, and I absolutely detested it. It was a nightmare to drive, just absolutely lethal. I do understand that the GT3 Lamborghini is a lot easier to handle. As we've got a replay of this is what happened with Frank Hopp, I believe. Looks like he just got hit from behind and spun round, and unfortunately, because he ended up facing the wrong way, had to just kind of sit there and wait it out, which is it's painful.
Yeah, it was also a bit middle of the pack, so there were a lot of cars coming by. So you know you have to be patient then and just stay stationary till the rest of the field has passed you.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. You know, it's good that he held his brakes, but it is painful to just sit there and watch car after car after car pass you, waiting for a gap to be able to turn the car round facing the right way again.
Yeah, definitely.
What other type battles do we have? We've got then the battle for P3, which is quite close. I've just noticed that Milan Duma has just put in fastest time, so it's definitely keeping Nelson honest as we just coming on board with Prince just looking back, and it looks like he's gone just a little bit wide, has opened up the door for Mike, and that's pretty much all the space that he needs, although it's going to be a drag down to Brooklands.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the beauty of Spoon. It's a difficult corner, but that's one of the places where you can have a bit of a different line or one slight mistake, and then you get the straight right after it. And it's one of those passing opportunities. And unfortunately for Mike Renosa, he just he had he put the car right beside Patrick, but Patrick had a great exit, so he
Yeah.
could pull away a bit on the straight again.
Yeah, and it just has that slight speed advantage in the BM over the Porsche.
I was looking forward to them going side by side into the final two corners because
The
that's
Brooklands, yeah.
into Brooklands and Luffield, because that's also two corners where Patrick could just keep the car on the outside and go side by side into Luffield and have the inside again. So that's an amazing sequence of corners where you can really fight door to door.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of really, really great classic overtakes that have taken place in that Brooklands Luffield complex. The other great overtaking is just at the end of the hangar straight coming into Stowe. But it takes patience and sitting in the slipstream waiting for the right time to pull out.
I think patience is something that Tim Nijboer is going to need a little bit with Carl van Horn right in front of him. I could see them fighting in the back, and Tim is desperate to get past Carl and cling onto the back of Mike Everhouse and Patrick Prince, just like he did in Misano. There we see the move by Mike Everhouse. He was, he saw a little bit of gap and he put his car in there, and Patrick's looked like he got spooked a little bit. And,
and it's back down to that straight line speed and again, but looks, although this is not done. I think this is going to be a battle that is going to trade back and forth for quite a number of laps. Going to definitely make it certainly interesting for us to watch.
And Patrick also, not closing the door on Mike because he knows he has a fast car. He knows he has the pace, so it's no problem if he loses one spot, because he can cling onto the back of Mike and keep the fight going. Still a lot of racing to do.
Yep. When we're very, very, early in on the race, we've only had 12 minutes as who?
That was Carl van Horn, I think. Yeah, it was Carl. Yeah. So that opens the door for Tim. It's a shame for Carl because he was really driving a great first couple of laps after the qualification he did. But that opens the door for Tim, and let's see if he can now drive onto the fight for P3 with Mike and Patrick.
Yeah, well, he's only got about a second and a half gap that he needs to close down to get onto the back of Patrick Prince. So, it'd be interesting to see how he starts to chip away at that gap.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing that we've got quite a bit of a battle for P10 with Ike Hughes and Aaron van der Linden. Currently about 4/10 of a gap there. And as if by magic, we're on board. Thank you very much, Chris.
Chris must be listening in.
Yeah, so again, when we've got Porsche and then the Audi, it looks like the Audi has gotten past, so the timing tree hasn't quite updated yet. But if van der Linden can get a good drive and try and keep on the back of that Audi, try and stay in then the slipstream coming down Wellington Straight.
Very shortly of what happened to Carl van Horn, probably when it's actually back to that camera.
And when we were one of the races that we were wanting to keep an eye on is how Denise Pope does trying to get some places back and up to Mulindula, and unfortunately it doesn't look like she's had a very good start. She's dropping down the order down into P23 now.
Yeah, and it was just right now because he went from 17 to 23, so she must have made a slight mistake. While we're looking at the replay of Carl van Horn, and it was just just a little bit too much speed going over the curb. Unsettled the car.
Just missed in his braking point, and
it's
very, very easy to do in that section.
Exactly, it is, and it's a slight brake, but not a full brake. And if you put on a little bit too much brake, then it can unsettle the rear, and a little
Yeah.
bit too less, and you just have way too much speed to go into Chapel.
Yeah, it reminds me very much of the downhill section at Bathurst, where it's, dab of the brakes, downshift, dab of the brakes, downshift, and it ends up being, an almost this, one then the other, this, kind of automatic sequence through those series of corners. And if you get your timing right, it's great. But get the timing wrong, and it just cascades into just being an absolute mess. And I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
what happened.
and that's the thing. When I started sim racing, it were those corners exactly like you said. It's the downhill bit in Bathurst, and it's Macken's and Chapel over here, and the fast right-hander Misano.
Yep.
When you don't have a feeling for the car yet, and for sim racing, those are the corners where you're just very unsure and of how much speed you can bring into the corner.
Hmm.
And I read real troubles. I was going either way too fast or way too slow and braking way too much. And finding the right balance of braking and maintaining that speed. That's something that you only learn by just driving a lot.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
have an
Definitely
incident
comes to
between
practice.
Parker and somebody else.
So
Smell.
as we see, Westcamp making a move on Daniel Benz, getting that overtake done very, very cleanly.
So when it comes, it'll be Piotr Rogios against Steve Parker.
And I have to say, Sam, that Milan Dalma is really keeping up with Nelson and Brenosa.
Yeah.
And it's quite a treat because they already have a 5-second gap to P3.
Yeah, Milan is definitely keeping Nelson Ambrinosa honest, and keeping then the fight nice and close for P1.
Steve
As
Parker and Piotr
we
Rogios.
as we go on board with the accident with Parker, didn't see who
Piotr
the
Rogos.
Piotr Rogos
He's having an absolute nightmare there.
in the McLarens, and off mowing the lawn, as we say.
I did a great job of returning onto the track safely. We already have our first car in the pit. It's about the Belsma in a Ferrari 669. So I'm wondering if that's a planned pit stop.
It's very, very early if it is
It is
planned.
very early. It could be that
Extremely early.
could be that he was in a train of cars, and having a feeling that he could be faster, but just not getting by the cars and being stuck behind some others, and deciding for an early pit stop. It is doable to do an hour on a set of tires. So
It is. It might have been to fix some damage. If he was involved in one of those early
yeah,
incidents.
I'm having a look at his last lap time, and it says a 2:19, so that's slow, but it might be also because he went into the pit. So not entirely sure if that's a planned pit stop or due to the incident.
Yeah. But I mean, speaking of pitting and the pit strategy, obviously we've got one mandatory pit stop then this evening, where that is mandatory for fuel, I believe.
It is, yeah.
And they have the option of whether to take tires. Now they've got a set refueling time of 25 seconds. And if you opt for tires, it brings your pit stop up to 30 seconds. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone opts to change tires in the hopes of being on fresher rubber towards the end, being a bit quicker on lap time, maybe make up that extra 5 seconds. And it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think with track temperature being so low, I don't think it's going to be too much of a concern of tires getting eaten up because the temperature is too hot.
Yeah, true. And on the other end, this is a track where overtaking is possible. Well, we see, I think it's Curtin going wide there, but it is a track where overtaking is possible. So, you know, it might be that people do opt for fresh tires. You might lose a couple of seconds, but you know, track precision isn't as important as on some other tracks. I can imagine a couple of tracks where I would probably prefer track precision over fresh tires.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Wouter Bijlsma did have an incident because he's still in the pits, and it looks like he will be staying there for a bit more.
Yeah, he's currently 2 laps down, and I hope he does, rejoin and continues the race. It can be a bit disheartening, being so far back, but I know from my personal experience, it's still worthwhile going back out. Yes, you've got to deal with lap traffic, but it's all practice, it's all experience. So, you occasionally, quite often get drivers, especially in public lobbies, where, they'll just rage quit and, just leave it at that if they get damaged. But I for one, I'm one that, likes to go out and, more laps you do, more mileage you get under your belt, the better driver you're going to be. You feel the same, Dimitri?
Yeah, I do. And unfortunately, that's the benefit of having community racing. You don't see that race quit quite often. You rarely see it, actually. It's most of the times when people, escape to pit, they either had so much damage and they were in a dangerous position that they ought to, escape to the pit road. So the other cars will not run into them. Or sometimes, you have some real life stuff going on. But, that's, I always tend to try to finish the races. I think I have only ever returned to pit and not continued the race once in my sim racing career. And I've had a couple of races where, you were multiple laps down, but, just continue and have fun. For me, the sim racing is having fun, and if I can have fun going around the track, having a little bit of a fight or trying to gain some time on the car in front of you, that's also one way to have a fun night.
Yeah, and I'm just noticing, and after Denise dropped down through the order, she is now fighting back. She's just claimed an 18th place from Mark van der Eyck and is now hunting down John Haig.
Yeah, and it is quite a lot of cars close to each other, so there is certainly some possibility to gain some more positions.
Yeah, once she gets past John Haig, she's got a bit of a gap to get up to Karen Benz. Gap between P17 and P16 is about 6 seconds at the minute, but if she continues to do the lap times that she's more than capable of doing, of quite easy 2-minute laps, then she should be able to catch up to Karen fairly quickly and continue her charge back up the field.
Yeah, I'm looking at the lap times, and currently we have a couple of drivers doing 59s, which are actually Nelson Rose and Milan Dauma, Patrick Prince, and Mike Renosa as well. But I think Mike might have made a mistake because his last lap time was not that great.
So just sort of clobbered Tom Curtin and pushed him off the track. So there's no well behind the car in between now.
Yeah, I missed what happened there, but Mike's last lap time was a 2:06, so something occurred over there. But like I said, it's the main, the top runners who are doing 59s at the moment, and after that you see a 2.0 and 2.01 mainly.
Yeah, as we're on board with Mike Ambrinosa, he's also got Tim Nybor still keeping pressure on him in the Mercedes.
And I'm looking at P6, that's Dennis Werkman, and I believe there must have been a really, really great first stint from Dennis, because I think he was around P15, P16 for the qualification. So he's having a great time right now.
Yep. Although he's got Carl van der Horn putting some pressure on him at the minute. Although Van Horn does have Curtin behind him, trying to make up some places. Curtin had a little bit of an excursion off. We think he might have got pushed off a little bit. So he's going to be going to have the bit between his teeth, trying to make those places back up.
Whatever happened to Micah Renosa, it doesn't affect his car very much, because he's straight back into 59.5, which is the third fastest time. The previous lap on Silverstone.
Yeah, and just looking at the battle for P1, Milan Duma still 0.4 seconds behind Nelson, so definitely keeping the pressure on. And I'm just saying, when we're starting to see some people just starting to filter into the pits. So Denise has opted to pit very early. Tim Allenson currently in the pits as well. So with 51 minutes still of racing left to go, that is quite early.
Yeah, but it's also very much doable, and especially when you have the track temperatures like they are right now, 16 degrees. That is very doable, and I have done it in the past as well. When you're stuck in a train and you're not doing the lap times that you can do. It's sometimes an option to just make a decision like that. Go into the pit early, see if you can get a bit of clean air, and put the lap times in. I'm not sure, Sam, maybe you have noticed it, but on the timing table, I have seen Micah Renault and no, Tim Nybur. Tim Nybur, he just went into the pits, or what happened? Because he disappeared onto... I was about to say that I could see Micah Renault and Tim Nybur swap positions for a bit, but because Tim was in front of Mike, but he just dropped down again.
I think Tim went off and tried to find a replay.
Yeah, so I've got a feeling, although I've got Chris in my ear saying that Tim might have had a bit of an excursion off track. So could have been a case of just pushing a little bit too hard and fell foul of pushing harder than skill allowed. But hopefully we'll get a replay shortly of what happened there. But then this is definitely an interesting battle for P1. When we all know that Ambrinosa is a very, very quick, very skilled driver, and we've got Milan Duma coming in as an AM driver, and continually putting pressure on Nelson throughout the first sort of 30 minutes. And here we are with what happened with Tim, and it looks like he just caught a little bit of too much curb, just touched the grass on the inside, and it just pulled the car around. So
That's good.
unaided, but yeah, falling back to P8.
Yeah, I do know that there's a bit. If you take a little bit too much curb on the inside, there's a bit of a dip in the grass in between the curves. So if you go to the inside a little bit too much, it really unsettles the car quite a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of the things that I find absolutely fascinating and about this game is, how much detail Kunos have put into making these tracks as realistic and as possible. That every single, bump and curb and camber has been mapped, meticulously. And then this is exactly how these tracks, behave. It's just fascinating.
That I'm very happy that I'm in the sim rig and not in real life, because I have hit that dip on the inside quite a lot.
Yes, I'm. What I was talking about at the start of the show of getting club occasionally wrong in the BMW. There have been quite a number of times where I have been, nose into that wall. So yes, I too am very glad that this is not real life. My skill would not allow me to drive around at these speeds.
I think I think my braveness will probably kick in, or lack of actually will probably kick in earlier than my skill.
Yeah. And then we're on with this three-way battle with Carl Van Horn, to Tom Curtin and Tim Nybor. The three of these cars have been quite close for a couple of laps now.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to see that you have a couple of cars, and Dennis Bergman is one, but Evan Atafas is another, who have really gained a lot of positions from the start of the race. Because Evan is now right behind Tim Nybor, and sure, he's 6 seconds behind him, but that's quite a lot of positions that he gained.
Yeah, and it's back to that testament of being patient, letting the race unfold, and just being in a position, waiting, ready to take advantage of anything that happens in front of you. And so it's
and Tim was noticing a gap in front of him and almost going too wide into Max and Chapel, but decided that it was better not to do that. It always scares me a little bit when you see that happening.
Yeah. Carl goes in a little bit wide, and Tim's got a slightly better run here, so he keeps in the slipstream. He might have a chance, although he's just shown his nose, see if he can put Carl Van Horn off. But Van Horn's quite an experienced driver. I don't think he's going to be spooked quite that easily. But he does force him into a mistake. It does force him to defend. Gone a little bit wide.
So we're going to have a drag race onto Hamilton Straight again.
Yeah, and
you would think that Tim would have a better exit, and he does slightly. Opts for the inside.
I don't think. No, he has braved it out around the inside. That is very, very good good car control from Tim. Getting that Mercedes slowed down enough from that angle to make the corner. Very clean.
I think Carl was also anticipating a little bit that Tim might go a bit deep, so he braked a bit earlier and took it a bit safe, which I can fully understand in the position where he is in, and being well into the top 10. You do not want to make a mistake there and be a little bit too aggressive in defending.
Yeah, and and I don't know whether he's paying attention to this sort of thing in the cockpit. But he is currently, P2 on track in the AM class. So I don't know if that might be playing on his mind of, this could be a good selection of points for him in the championship.
Yeah, and of course I'm always I am paying attention. You try to defend as hard as you can, but sometimes you have a driver which is quite a bit faster than you actually, but a little bit out of position. And Tim is one of those top 3, top 4 drivers who got a bit out of position due to a slight mistake. So that might be one of the things going through your mind, and then deciding let's not defend crazy hard and I focus on my own pace.
Yeah, yeah. When you know that there are fast drivers out of position because of incidents and first lap, the typical shenanigans that go on in the first couple of laps of a race, it's always and it shows a good level of driver maturity to know when to pick your battles and when to say, okay, there's no point me defending against this position. Obviously not gift it, but not fight it too hard and put you both at risk. And if they get past, then just tuck into their slipstream and hope that the faster driver pulls you along. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it shows really good awareness.
and we do see that the field is spreading out a little bit more right now, and Milan now is at 2.2 seconds behind Nelson Rahosa. So he dropped back a little bit, but at the same time he pulled away from Patrick Prince even more, because it was 5 seconds and he now has a 7-second gap back to Patrick. So he's in quite a comfortable position, close enough to Nelson, so that Nelson cannot afford any mistake at all, but having a nice buffer to Patrick behind him.
As we see, I think that was Aaron van der Linden in the Porsche going on a little bit wide, going into Maggots and Beckett's, and Venema getting past. And if van der Linden's not careful, he's potentially lose another place here in the drag down to Stowe.
Green Benz, I think, is just got past.
Yep. And yeah, he does lose that second place to Kareen in the Ferrari.
Yeah. I think we now finally have the first planned pit stops, Sam, because it looked like Tom Dahlhuizen also retired to the pit. But now we have Sjouk van Vat and Benz, which is not Kareem Benz, but
it's
Daniel Benz. Yeah, Daniel Benz. So those are sort of the first, I think, pit stops, and we will see more right now. Of course, we had Denise going for a very early pit stop. Now at the 40-minute mark, I think we will see quite a bit more coming in, because we're approaching halfway race.
Yeah, and if this was your race, what would your strategy be? Would you pit bang on halfway, pit a little bit early, pit a little bit late, go for the tires?
Usually I go for a little bit more fuel than halfway, and so you have a little bit of flexibility to see what happens. If you're in a train of cars, I might go early, but if the pace is decent enough, I would stick into the train and maybe see if I can push a couple of extra laps when they pit, see if you can overcut them. It depends, but I like to have a little bit of flexibility, so usually I put in a little bit more fuel than halfway.
Yeah, I would agree, and I take a very similar stance and go, fuel for 5 or 6 laps past halfway, just to give you, as you say, that flexibility to be able to see how the race develops and ahead of you. Would you take new tires, or would you stick with the old tires? and do the whole race on the second lap.
Yeah, it's difficult to say. It also depends on how close is the fighting, but where Tim Curtin went a bit wide there. If I have to pick an option right now, I would probably say I'll stick with the tires I have, because the track temperature is 15 degrees. So overheating should not be a problem, but at the same time it might make your tires a bit cool and sliding a lot. So difficult to say when you're not in the car.
Yeah. Just had Chris in my ear saying that there's a potential of rain coming, but
so we were both looking like, where is it? I can't see it.
No, neither can I. So to apologize for the momentary pause of confusion. But with it being 7:45 in the evening, I think that track temperature is going to continue to drop. It's definitely not going to improve, and and it has in fact already dropped at least 1 degree in this race, possibly 2. I can't remember whether we started on 16 or 17.
17, so yeah, it dropped to yeah. And we have Carl van Horn going into the pit, which is going to be very interesting, because he was right in the fight with around P5. So it's going to be very interesting to see where he will end up after the pit sequence has been done by most drivers.
Yeah, so I think this is the time for Nybor and Curtin, that if they're going to pull out some quick laps to try and undercut Carl. Now's the time to do it.
Dennis Burtman.
As we have a replay of
right.
Dennis just getting a little bit squirrely back end, just let go and off cutting the grass.
It looked like he kept the throttle down quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I noticed the blue and yellow car going off when we were watching another car, but I just missed who it was. But it was Dennis Bergman, and I think he was around P5, and he lost 2 positions over there. But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, and importantly, he kept it, and out of the wall, and able to keep, a certain level of control to get the car back safely and out on track.
Yeah, I think that's the right description. A certain level of control, because you could see the back end, going from left to right. Oh, there's a big mistake. Daniel Benz, which is a shame, because
that's going to be painful.
Yeah, and that will be a lot of damage to the car, and I think he actually escaped back to the pit. Yeah.
Yes, he has RTG'd. Yeah.
So that was probably having a lot of damage, having your steering wheel, completely the wrong way, and opting for the safe escape to pit instead of, trying to recover back to the pit on track and being a danger to all the other cars.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those judgment calls that you need to make, and at the time, and I can remember early on when I started sim racing, I was at Spa and had just massive accident all on my own. I did have a big gap to the carbon behind me, and thinking, okay, there's just 2 laps left, let's stick it out. Steering wheel's pointing 45 degrees the wrong direction, thinking, yeah, I've got enough space, and I just need to get to the checkered flag. And yeah, I was just losing so much time because I just couldn't keep it straight.
Yeah.
But I managed to actually keep the position. But interestingly, we've got P1 right through to P4 in the pits, doing their pit stops. So.
And I could see Nelson reversing, so he must have missed his pit marker and having to reverse back. So that will cost him a couple of seconds at least.
Lots of time.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see if Milan can actually grab the
Can
race
jump in
lead.
here. Yeah. Yeah.
I think Nelson is still moving, so he must have an
He
issue.
is.
Just trying not to get
If
a
he's
VSQ, I think.
Yeah, if he's got to be careful. Reversing too much, he could get disqualified. But yep, Duma is on the move and
He is.
heading out of the pits. So, yep, that should be changed for position now.
Yeah, Tim Neuboer, he went one lap longer, but he's into the pits right now. Together with Tim Curtin. Is it Tim? Tom, it's Tom Curtin. I was just checking because, you want to get their names right. But that means that Dennis Werkman and Evan Tafas are now on P1 and P2, which is always great when you have at least one lap in front position.
Nelson leaving the pits now.
Yeah, so whatever problem Nelson had, he's managed to get it sorted, finish his pit stop, and is on his way out. Although I'm just saying, Ike Choose has gotten a stop-go 30 for a pit lane infringement.
Now I think he was racing to get in front of Nelson. Let's see if we get a replay of it.
So we think it might be speeding out of the pit lane, trying to beat someone coming out of pit lane, try and get track advantage, and it's obviously not worked out for him very, very well. So
I'm very curious to see if the timetable is going to update some more, because at this moment Milan Dama has a huge gap back to Mike Erbenhuis and Patrick Prince, and Dirk Vedema is still in between, but he has to do his pit stop. But it looks like there's about a 12-second gap to Mike and a 16-second gap to Patrick, which would mean that Patrick Prince also had a not so great pit stop. So Milan might have given himself a really, really good opportunity for race win over here.
Yeah. Yep. And with just under 32 minutes left, yeah, it's definitely giving himself a good chance to just further increase his championship lead in the AM class.
Yeah. And I'm also wondering, let's have a look at Denise Pope. She's now in P14 because she had done a very early pit stop, and now that all the other drivers have done a pit stop as well, she's back to P14.
So, yeah, they were. This is an Ike Choose and Nelson. So, and it looks like an Ike might have just gone over the speed limit, trying to get ahead, to get out in front of Nelson, and it has put him severely on the back foot. He's now in the pits, serving that stop-go 30.
Yeah. So that he might have disabled the pit limiter to see if especially because he was one of the very last pit stop places. You can actually disable the pit limiter and see push the throttle down a bit further than you would normally do, and have a small run onto the pit lane, the pit limiter line, I mean. But it looks like he just has overdone it a little bit and went a bit too fast over there.
Yeah, and it can be very, very easily done if you map a pit limiter to your wheel. It can easily be overridden just by changing gear. So if you don't stay in first, it can be very, very easy to go over that limit without realizing it. So we've got Dirk Venema up in P4, currently not pitted yet. So he might be looking to go long on the pit stops. Don't know if he might be opting to maybe change tires and be on fresher tires towards the end, or just waiting to see how all of the pit stops play out before he goes in.
Yeah.
But now that we have those back markers out of the way, we can see how the pit stops, how the gaps have affected P1 through 3 during the pit stops. So Mike Ambrinosa get 11.7 seconds back from Milan Duma, and then Patrick Prince another 4.6 back from him. So Mike has got a lot of work to do to try and catch back up and see if he can bring the race back to Milan Duma before we run out of time.
Yeah, and I think it was actually Nelson Abrinosa who was the former P1, wasn't it? And he's now already dropped to P9. So I think Nelson is he's the biggest loser of the pit stop. The pit stops going on, and I think Patrick must have had a bit of a problem at the pit stop as well, because he dropped a place to Mike and is quite a bit back on Milan Duma at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know what the problem was that Nelson Abrinosa when we saw him reversing back and forth to find his pit box. So
I think he was booked in at the garage.
As we're on board with Haig.
Yes, it's John Hage, I think. If he's Dutch, he will probably say Hage.
Okay. He was only half a second behind somebody, but not too bad, sorry.
Yeah, I think John, he had he either just came out of the pit stop or had a bit of a problem last lap, because that's quite a slow lap time he did. Probably a pit stop, looking at the times.
Nelson Carl Van Horn. The guys working in front of them.
And then Nelson Abrinosa keeping the pressure on Carl Van Horn, try and make up some of those places that he lost during the pit stop.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult, because Carl has already shown that, when we were discussing the battle with Tim Nijboer, and Tim is very fast, but Carl just hung on to the back of Tim, so he has already shown that he's very fast on this track. So it's going to be a tough one for Nelson to pass.
Yeah, and then the two of them are obviously catching Dennis Workman in the Mercedes and as well, so this could end up being a three-way battle very quickly. And I think there's only about a second and a half, just a little bit less, between the three of them, just over a second now.
Yeah, that's always great to see, and Nelson might be thinking, go ahead, Carl, just go on, fight with Dennis, and I'll stick here, and as soon as you make a mistake, I'll pass both of you.
Mm. Yeah, and depending on how much you're defending, how much you're battling, you're going to be losing lap time.
Big slide from Dennis there. Yeah, exactly, and it is very easy to lose lap times when you're fighting like that, and sometimes you're not even actively fighting, but just being close makes it more difficult to keep those lap times down.
Yeah, because and it affects where your braking points are. You can't brake in the places that you normally would to avoid sliding into the back of the car in front, and it just has an accordion knock-on effect for the rest of your lap time.
It might be more of a problem for Nelson though, because those BMWs, they are known to really take your visibility away. You just can't see a thing, because the back end of the BMW is just
they are
so
a big old unit, aren't they?
They are, yeah. And Dennis in the Mercedes, that's always I enjoy watching. I enjoy driving the Mercedes, but also enjoy watching it, because it has a bit of a temper, so you can often see a Mercedes sliding around the corner, and it's just fun to watch.
That's a very polite way of saying that it's a bit of a handful. Yeah, I did drive the Mercedes for a short endurance season with a teammate of mine, and yeah, it's definitely a different sort of animal to get used to. At the time, I was my go-to car was the McLaren, and thankfully the McLaren and the Merc are not too dissimilar, but yeah, still a bit of a handful.
Yeah, they're different. Yeah, I always enjoyed the Mercedes. It's one of those cars that I like to drive, both GT3 and GT4. I haven't driven a GT3 quite a bit, but with the recent updates and for ACC, I did notice that the Merc you really had to oversteer it. You had to get the rear sliding to be fast. And it's just fun to drive. I enjoy it. Yeah.
And I think you need a little bit too much car control than what I have and possess in my skill to be able to do that effectively. So that's probably why the Merc is not really a very good car for me.
Yeah, everyone has their preferences, of course, and the driving style that needs to fit a car. So, yeah, I've never gotten along with a lot of cars. When I'm looking at the bottom right, the battle for 5th position, and they're very close. And it must be, I think, Tom Curtin and Tim Nijboer. And Tim having a great exit over there, catching a little bit of grass going to the inside. Just not braving it out over there. See if he can cut back over here.
Yeah, if he gets a good exit, this could be done. Although she says
Tom has
a little bit too soon.
Yeah.
Who's going to be braver on the brakes?
Tim was very.
This is close. This is good, close, clean racing. They're giving in each other all due respect, although tiniest of little nudges there. But yeah, this is brilliant to see.
I would have thought that Tim would stick to the inside there and see if he could outbrake Tom, but he decided to get back into the slipstream and go back to the racing line. Had a slight tap at Tom, but and they both control the car quite nicely, so no problem there. But that was great racing.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the track map. The grid has spread out, but it seems to have spread out into a couple of pockets of close racing. So this is definitely one of the closest battles on track and at the minute between Nijboer and Curtin. Also got a bit of a battle going on for P14 between Van der Linden and Ike Chews, recovering from his stop-go 30.
Looks like Nelson, meanwhile, has got past Carl van Horen and is now putting pressure on Dennis Varkman. And Carl dropped back a little bit, so he might have lost some seconds over there.
Nelson flashing lights there, not supposed to do that shit.
Yeah, this battle for P7 is quite close now.
A little bit too much curve from Dennis. Let's see if that affects his corner exit, but it does not. You do have the feeling that Nelson is potentially a bit faster than it was. You do have to get past Nelson to really get pace. Right now, the state is dominating what Dennis is doing.
Yeah, and it's similar to what we were saying towards the top of the race, where it was that these faster drivers who end up out of their natural position can very easily get very frustrated being behind slower cars who are defending their position, racing really well, but it does get frustrating for the faster driver just not being able to find a way past, and that's when mistakes can start to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I have to say, great camera work by Chris here, putting both the very close battles on screen right now. Looks like Tim is side by side with Tom and going for the inside. Side by side going through Megas, Bex, and Chapel, and that's not gonna work.
No.
Right behind them. Right behind them is the next battle, Dennis and Nelson.
Yeah.
So and obviously then the battle that we're seeing up in then the top left is only just behind the battle down in the bottom right, and this this battle with Ambrinosa is definitely
Won by Nelson.
He has managed to get past. Yep.
So let's see now if Nelson can up the pace a little bit, because he still has the fastest time with a 1:58.6, and he was doing a 2:00 the last couple of laps, so he should be able to run away a little bit from Dennis. Meanwhile, Milan Dauma on P1, he's driving just, he's focused, he's not making any mistakes. He did a 1:58.6 the previous lap, and has now done a 1:58.9. He's by far the fastest car on track right now.
That's not he's an amateur as well.
Yeah, and he is an AM class as well, so I definitely don't see him being in the AM class for very long. I think he definitely needs to, at the very least, go up to silver for our next championship.
He's definitely on his way to doing that, becoming the championship, the winner for the M class. Yeah.
The Venima, stop go 30. Must be serving it.
Yeah, so we have Venema, who was holding on for P4, but still have to do his pit stop. He just went into the pit, but unfortunately he stopped go 30, so he must have been speeding inside the pit lane. So that will drop him back quite a bit, and Denise Pope now on the verge of a top 10 position, which is quite remarkable, seeing her around P17, dropping back to P22 at one point, going for the very early stop. And but ever since he's done the pit stop, it's been very steady, and gaining positions almost every lap.
Yep, and holding on to that bottom step of the podium in the AM class as well. So really good drive for Denise from the Wild Things Racing team. And
having a look, she is currently about, what is it? The gap to Andres Westkamp is just too big to overcome. The pace difference is not that great.
Yeah, with just under 16 minutes left, that's too much of a tall order for her to get 10th, but still a very good recovery drive from her, and like I said, a podium in the AM class. And Jane, just thinking, going back to what we were saying about Dirk Venema, it's one of the disadvantages of waiting late to do a pit stop, is that if anything goes wrong, you have a lot less time to be able to try and recover, and see what else you can make of it. So that stop go 30 coming this late in the race, that's job done, that is.
Yeah, it is, and it looks like he realizes that, and has decided to remain in the pit.
Yeah. So where are other battles? I mean, obviously we've still got the battle between Tim Nyber and Tom Curtin, although that is starting to spread out a little Carl van der Horn and Evan Yeplis. That could potentially start to get a little bit closer into the final stages of the race. Evan Yeplis obviously in the other Wild Things Racing Honda. He's gotten a brilliant drive. Of stow there into the out of the Vale chicane into club, but got just a little tail happy on the way out and wasn't able to take advantage.
Evan going really deep on the braking over there and out-braking himself a little bit.
Doing what a lot of Honda does well, cuts in the grass.
Taking a little bit of a detour, but you know, then the Honda, there's no escaping it. The Honda is very, very fast, but it is, you've got to be so precise with it, and it requires very, very delicate setup from what I understand, and a couple of my friends drive the Honda on a regular basis, and they say, yeah, if you're not good at setups and producing reliable setups, the Honda it can be difficult to get the speed out of the Honda, but when you get the setup right, they can be an absolute weapon.
I drove it one season and it's just so different to all the other cars I found, and that makes it difficult. It was just so pointy that you know, I was doing my regular brake markers, well, not brake marks, but my regular racing lines, and with the Honda, I was just always too soon with steering into the corner. So I was hitting the inside way too soon every time because it's just so pointy on the front. It's remarkable. So you really had to get used to it and have a different driving style.
You know, and Evan is doing a brilliant job keeping the pressure on Carl here.
Having a look at the lap time, see if there is anybody who is going really fast. But it all looks to have settled down quite a bit. So we have still Tim and Tom very close to each other, and we have this battle that we're watching right now. And of course we have Nelson still in there as well. Currently in the order of Tim, Tom and then Nelson. P4, P5, P6.
Yeah, what is that spread then? Between the three of them, it's what, about 1.5 seconds spread between P4 to P6. Yeah,
and both Tim and Tom were doing it 2 minutes, and Nelson is doing a 1:59.0, so he's catching both of them quite rapidly last lap.
Yep, and this picture-in-picture that we're seeing for battle for P13 is Ike Chews still chasing down the Ferrari of Mark van der Eyck. Chews obviously trying to recover from that early stop go 30 pit lane infringement, so trying to keep the pressure on Mark and try and get the overtake done.
It's a Schulker actually chasing Ike.
I think we're actually watching Ike and Schalke Vavat right behind him.
Yep, sorry, my mistake.
So there's Ike in the Audi and Schalke in the Aston Martin.
Yes, I do apologise. So yeah, this is the fight for P13.
And while I was having a look at I was having a look at the bets for 13th, and suddenly I see Evan Atavas with no car in front of him. So it looks like he has passed Carl van Horen for P8.
I'll get a replay of that shortly.
Yeah, although looking at the gap that he's got up to Dennis Rookman, I think that might again potentially be a little bit of an ask with just 9 minutes left.
We're looking back from the car of Ictus back to Jacques Vervat. It's always I find it weird to see when you're on such an onboard camera. It looks quite a gap, but when you're watching it from Jacques Vervat's point of view, you're thinking, oh, I'm very close, I can get this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's then the play on perspective that can, potentially lead to you going for a lunge that you possibly shouldn't.
Replay coming into the overtake. Bear with it. Just trying to clean the book.
And then I'm saying that we've got a replay coming up of Evan's overtake.
Yeah, I just had a great exit.
Yep, and just much braver on the brakes. And almost didn't hold on to it, but a little bit of a power slide coming out, but very, very well controlled
Beautiful move,
from Evan Netves.
He was
Beautifully
making sure that that he was visible over there. So he was thinking, I'm on the inside. Let's see who can brake later. And he broke very late and kept it on track. Very nicely done.
Yeah, very, very well controlled. And Nelson Ambranosa he's on a charge. He's on the back of Tom Curtin for P5.
Yeah, you do see that harmonica effect, the Constantina effect, because he was in 158 recently, doing really fast lap times, 159s. But now that he's really caught up to Tom, your pace is dominated a little bit by what Tim is doing and what Tom is doing.
Yeah.
So it's always easier to get onto the back of the car in front of you, but passing that's a different thing.
Yeah.
But
he
does have the pace difference in him to make a pass, and let's see how it ends up. 6 minutes left, so that's about three laps to go. So he can't take too much time for the pass.
Yeah, and it's in looking at at everyone's lap time, and it very, very clearly does illustrate what you were just saying of Tim Nybor, Tom Curtin, and Nelson and Reynosa. Obviously, we know Nelson's capable of mid 58s, but both Tim and Tom are currently doing 2-minute laps, and now Nelson is doing exactly 2-minute laps.
Yeah, and of course Tim and Tom, they're also 159 low. It's also possible for them, but it's tires are getting a bit more worn, and I'm not sure if they have chosen fresh tires, and maybe Nelson has the fresher tires of the three of them. But it looks like he's very close, but it's hardly an opportunity here to pass Tom Curtin.
But he's definitely close enough to make Tom Curtin potentially be looking more in his mirrors and as opposed to what he's doing. So Nelson keeping the pressure on, trying to force Tom Curtin in that Aston Martin into a mistake. But while these two are fighting, Tim Nybor is starting to stretch that gap just a little bit. Now up to 0.7.
Was that a mistake by Tom that enables Nelson to make a move, but it still doesn't. Tom went a little bit wide there, but still no opportunity for Nelson to get on the inside and make the pass happen.
Although that is... Yeah, he's gone
that's
way
too
too
late.
deep.
Yeah. He was trying to recover for his own mistake, going on a little bit too much on the inside there again, the famous dip that we discussed earlier.
Yep.
And he lost a bit of speed there and trying to recover by breaking deep, but that was just a little bit too much.
Yeah, definitely. It's so easily done, trying to make up that time on the brakes. So now Nelson has 1.5 to catch up with Tim, and 3.5 minutes to do it. As we go on board with Milan Duma, just comfortably in control and at the front of this race. 10-second gap back to Mike Ambrinosa, who's I've just noticed pulled even more of a gap on Patrick Prince, so there's now another 11.5 back to P3. So those top three positions just nicely wrapped up. As we go on board with Andreas Vestkamp, chasing down Carl Van Horn.
Carl's having a little bit of a hard time in this the second part of the race. He was doing a really great job in the first half, but he's ever so slightly just dropping back a little bit and losing a position here, a position there. So of course it's still a great result by him. But it's unfortunate that he couldn't keep up the pace for the second half as well.
Yeah, and then it could be possible that he just took a little bit too much out of his tires early on, and if he's still on that same set, I know from experience that the BMW experiences quite a drop off in tires. You hear about them talking about the cliff a lot in Formula One. I've certainly experienced that with the BMW. It's not the kindest car on its tires, so you can get this sudden drop off in pace towards the back end of the race, and it's just not as pointy and controlled as the car is capable of on fresh tires.
It's great to see that we still have these battles going on. In this case for P9, Andre's going to the inside. Let's see if he can stop the car in time, and he does. That looks like a move done. But Carl's not giving it up easily.
Wide. Yeah, he had to go wide because then the BM was still parked on his inside shoulder. So great awareness from Vestkamp to not cut that line too sharply and cause a collision. So very well done.
Exactly. Yeah, very well done by Carl. Just sticking in there and not giving that position up easily.
Yep. As we see the leader coming down into
left field. Looks like
left field. So it looks like we are going to have one more lap. After this, we come 19 seconds as the leader comes on to the final lap. And then this battle up and then the top left between Vestkamp and Van Horn, this battle is not done. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out for then the rest of this lap.
Yeah, and also in the timetable, I'm keeping an eye on Nelson, Ambrinosa and Tim Nybor. We're also very close to each other, but they will be on the final lap as well.
Yep.
And these two will have one more lap.
Yeah, this is getting dicey now.
It was
Great
very
to
close,
see.
but still very fair, and
Yes. Yeah.
great driving by both of them.
Yep. And so they're just going to be coming on to then the Wellington Straight now, and obviously that Audi's going to have then the slipstream.
And
He's
we're gonna have a repeat of the last lap.
He is, but he's going to have that. Oh, and Van Horn just misses his braking point, and that's game over. So, Westcamp.
I got. I thought over there that Andreas Westkamp was taking it safe and braking early, but it was not the case. He was hitting his brake marker. It was Carl just missing it.
Yeah. So up in the top left, we're back to this battle with Nelson Ambrinosa and Tim Nybor. Currently 0.3 between them.
And we have Milan, who's quite a bit in front of them, and he's going through the final corner right now, I believe. And on for his victory on Silverstone.
Yep.
An absolutely brilliant race by Milan.
Yeah, very, very dominant race, very clean, very controlled for an AM driver. Didn't put in a step wrong. So
we have Micah Renosa, who finished in second place, and then we have Patrick, and then this battle between Tim Nybor and Nelson Renosa.
So Nelson is very rapidly running out of corners to be able to get this job done as they're coming down into Brooklands and Luffield now. So I think that is going to be the finishing order for P4 and 5 as well.
Looks like it, yes.
And I have to say, really, really good recovery drive from Denise. It's unfortunate she didn't manage to get up into the top 10, but from the ending up in P23 towards the beginning of the race, making that early pit stop, I think she's done a really good job to get up to P11 in the Honda. And the very beautifully liveried Wild Things Racing team, and I love watching these guys. Their liveries are the purple and pink. I've just always been such a big fan of.
I must say, Nelson Rosa, after that what do you call it? That dramatic pit stop, let's put it that way, because that took ages. He has managed to recover a couple of places back, so it will be very mixed feelings for him. But at least he gained back some places after that pit stop.
Yeah, and it's and it's just one of those things that you can have a great race, plan for everything, but just missing your pit markers and just going just a bit too deep into your pit box. It is a bit painful, and seeing all that hard work slip away.
Yeah, definitely. So a tough race for him, but he certainly had the pace over there. Yeah, he does have the fastest lap, only just, I must say. Milan come very close to that fastest lap time.
Sorry, somebody's not saying the highlights. I was going to play the highlights whilst you're doing interviews.
So I'm just taking a look to see if this is going to have any effect on our current championship standings, and I don't think. I think the AM class is going to stay as it is, and I think silver is. Oh, where did Tim Nybor? He finished 4th. So yeah, Tim Nybor, I think, has just been promoted up into that second place position in the silver class. But obviously we just need to wait until the results are fully finalized before we...
And don't forget that we have one drop result as well. So, you know, at this moment, Mike Abernhouse has a commanding lead. I think then over Tim Nybor, but we have to have a look at what the worst result from both is. And but definitely, Mike is looking very good for the championship win with one race to go.
Yeah, just taking a quick look at the past results for Mike Ambrinosa. He did have, you know, quite a bad outing at Hungaroring, finished 17th. So that may be the race that he volunteers to drop. Sorry, guy.
Yeah, I was having a look if we have some drivers in the waiting room. I do see Patrick Prince, so I'm going to bring him in for a quick interview with us.
Hello, Patrick.
Hello. How's it going?
It's going well. How was that for you, being P3?
Fairly uneventful, to be honest. I had a nice battle with Mike Abrinosa at the start. To be honest, I don't know how I ended up in P3. I hadn't done any practice for a month, so to pull out a 58.5 from never hitting a 58 before was pretty nuts. Nice. So I thought I was way out of position to start with. And then, Mike was piling on a lot of pressure. He was on me the whole time. He ended up forcing me deep, got the position. I thought that was it. Then he spun, thought, oh, okay, I can keep this. And then the one interesting thing happened just at the end of my first stint. As I went into pit, like just as I got to the point where I'm ready to stop for my pit box, I don't know who it was that got the DSQ for speeding in the pit lane. Their car teleported right in front of me, and it just blinded me, and it threw me off. It's how he jumped me in the pits, because I just got so confused and forgot to turn off my car, and then I was out of grid position.
we were wondering because we noticed, you know, Milan Dauma was in front of you, and I think it was Nelson Rosa in front of you, but you were about 5-6 seconds back, and then after the pit stop it was like 15 seconds. So we missed what happened during the pit stop, but we noticed that something must have happened.
It's just not something you expect, but I mean, once the second stint started, Mike was just too quick, and so I don't know how I ended up with a 20-second gap over everyone else, so I just sort of cruised back.
Excellent.
Quite straightforward.
So do you normally like driving at Silverstone, or is this one of your less favourite tracks?
No, not gonna lie, I usually dislike it, so to get a good result like this was quite nice. I'd say I dislike. I think more often than not, I end up getting involved in an incident. That's probably why I generally dislike it. So if I take you back to the first endurance race, I was in the car for the 6 hour, and I got punted. So on the first lap. So that sort of just enforced why I hate the track. But it's nice to actually get a good result and end up on a podium spot for once.
Yeah. But it does tend to put a little bit of a negative connotation when you have an experience like that and at a track. It could be a track that you're very, very strong at, but you just have that little bit of an incident, and it just taints the track in your mind from that point onwards. So you're looking forward to the final round at Kyalami?
Oh yes, Kyalami is my favourite track, so that's going to be a great one. I'm very much looking forward to that. I love racing on Kyalami.
It's going to be fun for us commentators as well, because that's one track where overtaking can be done pretty much anywhere. So I agree with you. It's always a fun race there.
I don't know how well the Lambo is around there, but I did some races about 3 weeks, about 3 weeks back or so on it, and it seemed pretty good. So I'd hope once again I'm near the top, but I'm not quite sure how I've suddenly ended up at the front of the grid halfway through the season. Like the first 3 races or so, I think I was sat around 11th, 12th, and then I mean, maybe it's due to an upgrade to a CSL, but I got a direct drive wheel, and yeah, I've been at the pointy end since, so I guess it's helped.
And let me guess, did you get that upgrade just before Misano?
Yeah, I think it's now about 2 months old. I got it start of March, so yeah, that adds up pretty well.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we're looking forward to seeing your race at Kyalami. You're obviously going to be in the comment box with me next week for GT3. So you looking forward to that?
Yeah, it should be fun. It's nice to actually get to chat with you. We've obviously raced about a year together now, on and off, haven't we? So but it's slightly different to what we're used to. But I guess rather than hitting each other off the pitch, we might just have some verbal words flying across instead in the box.
Yes.
We're going to swap places then, Patrick. I'm going to drive the GT4. You can
brilliant.
comment on my driving. I'm hoping for a podium as well. So let's
clean one like what I had today. Yeah. Just take a clean drive like what I had. No issues, and third place is always good. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Best of luck for next week then, mate, as well.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. And I think we've got Mike Ambranosa in the box with us as well. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Hey there, Sam. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. So, in P2, how was the race for you this evening?
Yeah, it was a good result, I think. I think we've seen all season long that the Porsche just really struggles in the long straights, and this track has got 3 of those. So, yeah, I mean, qualified, I think, 4th, which was a good result. I was struggling quite a bit with off-brake oversteer. Mm-hmm. So every time I came off the brakes, the rear just wanted to come around on me, and I think that happened twice in the first stint before the pit stop. But other than that, really good race. I had a great battle with Patrick. That's 2 races in a row. We had a really good time at Misano. But I think the advantage there for them is I just couldn't catch them on the straights. Where here, I think there's a lot more corners. So good race, good result. Love Silverstone. So yeah, happy to be here.
Huh. And are you looking forward to Kyalami? Is that a track you enjoy?
I do like Kyalami. Hopefully the Porsche is still relatively strong there as well, so should make for an interesting season finale. So yeah, I mean, I can't believe the season's come to a close so quickly. But yeah, hopefully we have good luck at Kyalami, and hopefully we get the other Team Abbey car up at the top as well. Unfortunately, Nelson didn't have good luck with his pit stop today, so he dropped from the lead to don't know where initially, but good result, finishing 5th in the end, I think.
Yeah. So do you know what's happened in his pit stop? Then we saw him in kind of reverse back and forth. Was he struggling to find his pit box, or?
Yeah, so he was struggling to find. I think he missed his pit box initially, and then had already turned the ignition off, so that costs a lot of time. Then ignition back on. A little bit of a fumble to get started, then it was reverse, ignition off, missed the box again.
Oh no!
So, fortunately he didn't get disqualified for driving in reverse, because I've done that once upon a time. So really unlucky for him, but I think, the Aston is so fast around here. Nelson loves this track as well, so that was definitely a win that he is sad to have lost out on.
Yeah, Nelson was having a really good fight with Milan Damo. In the end, won it, and it was very close for basically right up to the pit. The missed pit by Nelson. So that was looking like a fun race for him as well. And unfortunately, the pit stop kind of ruined it all.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Milan's had a great season. He's driven pretty strong all season long. I think he won the first race in Imola, and it's good to see him winning again because he's got good pace. So, yeah, good battle, and hopefully we'll be closer to him at Kyalami.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Brendan, for joining us. Best of luck at Kyalami, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, and we'll see you at the next one.
Excellent.
Bye for now.
And finally, we've got Milan Duma come and join us as well. Evening, Milan.
Yep.
How are you doing this evening?
Better than expected. I was really surprised with how fast me and Nelson were compared to the rest of the field.
So you weren't expecting to do as well this evening as you did?
Actually not, no.
Okay. Then had you done very much practice leading into the race?
A few open lobby races, but and I just the real strategy planning was in the first practice session this evening.
Okay.
Sometimes that's the best way, just wing it and see what happens. And you are on top of your game right now. You are right. You and Nelson, you were both doing 158s, and I think you were the only drivers dropping into the 158s during the race. So sometimes you had quite a big gap indeed. And did you notice what happened to Nelson in the pit stop? Because I think you all went in the pit stop at the same lap. So could you see him having problems during the pit stop?
Yeah, we went in at the same time, and I stood still in my pit box behind him. But I thought everything was fine with him, because a few seconds before my timer was up, he started going again, but he went a very small distance, and then he stopped again, and I didn't know what happened. But yeah. I just heard over the conversation earlier that he did not get in his pit box properly.
Exactly. Yeah. You can watch it back on the stream because, of course, we were watching the pit stop on the stream, so you could see him reversing back and stuff. So that was a bit of luck, but your pace was really really nice today. So yeah, very well done.
Yeah, but I think Nelson, if he did not have that mistake in the pit stop, I think he would have won this one for sure. Because especially later in the race, I caught myself making more and more mistakes, and he almost made no mistakes at all when I was behind him. He was really really quick.
Yeah.
And consistent.
Oh, great drive from both of you, and you did quite a nice job as well in the second part of the race. And we missed the mistakes. We did notice some very fast times of you, and you were well. With 10 minutes to go, you were still the fastest car on track. So, congratulations, and on to Kyalami.
Yeah. Not looking forward to it.
Is Kyalami not a track you enjoy?
It's a track I haven't driven that much.
Okay.
Only since I started driving in ACC.
Right. Okay. Well, got some time to get some practice in, but we definitely look forward to seeing how you get on.
Yeah.
Or just wing it, because that works as well.
I think I can afford to do it actually, to not get that many points. I calculated the standings in AM class, and I think I'm okay for the final race. Because up to now it was very close with Pope, but she had a very bad race today, I think.
Yeah.
Not the best, but she did recover quite well. So yeah.
Oh, she had a crash at the start, something like that.
Yeah, but she did come back to, I think it was P11. So
yeah.
Okay.
You still have to do a proper race in Kyalami. And
all right.
Well, we look forward to seeing how you get on at Kyalami, and thank you for joining us this evening, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
All right, see ya.
Bye-bye.
Right, so very, very interesting racing then this evening. Unfortunately, we don't have a graphic for it that we can show you just yet, but I want to pass on some early information for our summer fun series. So we're going to be launching then this fairly soon. It's a 8-round series. It's going to be happening throughout the summer. Set races, so then time for each race is going to be the same. 20-minute qualifying, 1-hour race. But just to mix things up a little bit, each round is a dedicated vehicle per race. So round 1 is going to be at Zolder, May 31st, in the BMW M2. So the brand new M2 that's just been released. Round 2, going to be at Monza, June 7th, and that is a Ferrari Challenge race. So again, I believe that's one of the new release cars. Round 3 is going to be at Nürburgring, June 28th, and that is a Porsche Cup 992 race. Round 4 is going to be at the infamous Imola. Let me get my words out. Imola, July 5th, in the Lamborghini ST Evo 2, so my nemesis car. Then we've got a round at Spa for round 5 at July 12th in the BMW M4. Round 6 will be at Suzuka, July 19th in the Lexus. Going to be nice to see a field full of Lexi racing around. That's going to be good fun to watch. Then round 7, we're going to be back at Silverstone on July 26th for McLaren 720S. And then the final round will be round 8 at Oulton Park, August 2nd, in the Aston Martin AMR V8 Vantage. So quite an interesting series, quite I think a cool concept. You looking forward to that, Dimitri?
Yeah, it's sounding great, especially also with the new DLC cars in the mix. They're very different to drive again, so that should make for a really fun summer series.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really interesting, and I'm so gutted that I'm not going to be able to compete in it. I'm afraid I'm moving house, so my rig is going to be in bits.
That's a shame. I have to look at my agenda as well. I'm hoping to fit some holidays in there as well. So, but certainly when I'm back, I'm gonna join a couple of those races.
Yeah, I'm certainly hoping that the amount of time that my rig's going to be dismantled is going to be as minimal as possible, because there are definitely some rounds in there that I want to have a go at. I'm not a fan of Suzuka, but been really, really interesting to drive the Lexus. Silverstone's going to be a good round, and I'm interested to try the M2. So if I'm just back off holiday on May 31st, so I might just squeak into that one.
That's nice. The M2s are very nice, and the one that I really want to drive is the Ferrari DLC one, because that's just a ridiculous car. So it should fit me.
Right. Well, it's been a interesting race this evening. Have you enjoyed the racing tonight?
I loved it. There were so many close battles with Tim and Tom, which it also sounds nice. The battle between Tim and Tom, and then Mike was right in there. We had Patrick, Milan doing a very, very good stint. But also a bit further down, with IQs and Sjouke Vervat and Dennis Bergman getting right up there as well. So very, very close battling, and it's like we said at the beginning. It's one of those tracks, Silverstone, where you see that happen a lot. Overtaking is possible, close battling is possible. So yeah, it was a fun race.
Yeah, and son, I'm definitely looking forward to the final round and at Kyalami. When we've still got some championship positions that are up for grabs. When we've said, in earlier, Kyalami is one of those tracks where, overtaking in abundance So it's going to be a fascinating race to watch.
Absolutely.
So, to everyone who has watched the race, thank you for coming and supporting the channel. Definitely give us a like and a subscribe to get notifications as to when we are next posting races, or indeed any of our live races. And from me and Dimitri, thank you very much, and have a great day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are.
Bye bye.